Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And a very good Tuesday night, everyone. Welcome into the Keeneland Look Ahead. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now and Keeneland.com. We're going to take a look at the Wednesday program for October 11th on tonight's show. We preview all 8 races on the card and give you the big picture view of how the races were going to line up on an 8-race program, because things are a little bit different with the overlapping multi-race wagers. Certainly the focus on the middle of the card will be very, very important. We'll give you a look at the handicappers consensus box and get the thoughts of the other handicappers at Keeneland.com as well. Hope you enjoyed opening week. Fall Stars weekend was absolutely fantastic. We saw some spectacular performances. For me, none better than what we saw in the Coolmore Turf Mile on Saturday. What a performance, up to the mark off the June layoff, running down the Woodbine Mile winner in the shadow of the wire. What a phenomenal performance that it was there, up to the mark, now heading towards the Breeders' Cup as one of the really exciting horses to look forward to. And of course, a big weekend for Todd Pletcher. Not only did he win with Up to the Mark, he also won on Friday with Candied in the Alcibiades Stakes, and he won on Saturday in the Breeders' Futurity as well. Just a big run for Pletcher over the weekend, winning that one with Locked, the big 2-year-old performers of the weekend, both from the Todd Pletcher barn. We are going to look at the 8-race card in just a minute, but let's review what we saw on opening weekend from a handicapping standpoint that might help you identify some winners moving forward here in week number 2. 31 races run on opening weekend, 21 of them on the main, 10 of them were run on the turf. On the main track, favorites went just 3 for 21. 3 for 21. Far, far, far underperforming what you'd expect. You'd expect to see 8, 9 favorites out of 21 races on average. Just 3 favorites on the main track out of 21. 6 of 31 overall for the favorites. They went 3 of 10 on the turf in the 10 turf races. Average winner for the week, 6.1 to 1. Usually you're looking at about a 9 to 2 average. When a meet's playing about right, where it's not too chalky and it's not chaos, about 4.5 to 1. $9 winners are about where you're at when things settle. Right now, we're not settled with a 6 to 1 average winner here at the beginning of the Keeneland meet, as witnessed again by the favorites going 6 for 31 overall and 3 for 21 on the dirt. The dirt on Friday was very tough to win on the lead. On Saturday, it was tough to win on the lead. On Sunday, it got easier to win towards the front. But overall, we saw 7 winners lead at the half-mile call on the main track. 8 winners during the week closed for more than 3 lengths back. So it was feast or famine. Again, later as the week progressed, speed got a little bit better, certainly by Sunday. But Friday and Saturday, so if you see those horses run back either later in this meet or the next meet, they move to Churchill or back to New York or where they may head next. Horses who tried to rally on those first 2 cards on the 6th and the 7th, you probably want to move them up a little bit, or horses who tried to win on the front end. Horses from behind had the best of it on the 6th and 7th on the first 2 days of the meet. So you see those horses a little bit later in the meet. Maybe you want to give a little credence to a horse, a little extra push for one who was up on the lead and gave way late. A lot of them did the first couple days of the meet. As for the connections, what a good week for Hall of Famer John Velasquez. 5 winners he had, 4 on the dirt, 5 overall. Top jockey in the standings, John Velasquez, off to a good start. As far as the trainers, we told you about Pletcher's 3 big winners. Those were his 3 wins for the week. Wesley Ward also won 3 last week, but Pletcher getting 3 grade 1s, 2 grade 1s and a grade 2, the Alcibiades being a grade 2. As far as pedigrees go, Omaha Beach, Liam's Map were the 2 sires that had 2 on the main track. Not This Time is a horse we love on the main track and has had great stats on the main track at Keeneland over the last couple of years. Definitely one to watch as a pedigree play on the main track. Not This Time's both winners opening week came on the turf. So showing some versatility there. Where did the winners come from? It was even Steven. Now, this is going to change as the meet goes because remember, Fall Stars weekend, there are a lot of stakes races, a lot of horses from out of town. But nonetheless, 6 winners via Kentucky Downs opening weekend, 6 from Saratoga, 1 from Belmont. So the Naira shippers won 7. That's the most of any circuit to produce horses opening weekend at Keeneland. But that's going to change, obviously, as this meet gets into weeks 2, 3, and 4, as we're not just loaded with so many grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 kind of stakes races where the New Yorkers are obviously strong. 5 winners from Churchill Downs, 4 first-time starters recorded victories during the opening week. So Kentucky Downs 6, Naira 7, Churchill 5, first-time starters 4. Pretty even spacing, and that's why Keeneland, I always say, is the greatest melting pot in racing. That's what we had opening weekend. So let's try to put some of that into play as we look at week number 2 in the Wednesday card getting started at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Here are the big picture view here is the big picture view of the 8-race program. Remember, with 8-race cards now, the early pick 4 and the late pick 4 are going to, or pick 5s are going to overlap, and the early pick 4 and the late pick 4 is going to overlap. So I call them swing races. Races 4 and 5 are considered swing races on the program because they're going to be part of both multi-race wagers. As you see, the pick 5 begins in race number 1. So that's going to be races 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, including everything there on the left side and the 5th race. Second race starts the pick 4. That's going to be races 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, 4 and 5 are going to fall in all the pick 5s on the card and the pick 4s, 2 through 5 as well. And then 5 through 8 will be the late pick 4. So there is a lot in play in the swing races. You want to put extra handicapping weight into those. If you have strong opinions in the 4th and 5th race, these are the days to dive in harder, maybe use a little more budget because again, if you've got a strong opinion in races 4 and 5, you can leverage it in 2, 3, 4, 5 different sequences and multi-race wagers. And so one strong opinion on a winner might help you in so many different avenues. That's why you want to look at the card from the big picture here and see how it may line up for you. Turf Pick 3 races on Wednesday are scheduled for races 4, 6, and 8 marked in the green. I've got 3 key plays for you on the program, races 2, 6, and 7. We'll talk about those in detail as we get through each individual race. Had a good handicapping day on Saturday, not so much Friday. Didn't do a whole lot on Sunday either. So kind of carried the weekend with some good plays on Saturday. Let's see if we can't get week number 2 off to a good start. Race number 1, first up, let's go to the Keeneland Handicappers Consensus. You can print this box out or check it out at Keeneland.com. Look under the handicapping tab in the Handicappers Consensus where Scott Hazelton and Caton Bradar, who are the simulcast team here this meet, they've got their picks in each and every day along with Kim Nelson, Tom Leach, and myself. So let's go through race number 1 where it's Lady with a Cause going to be my top choice in here. These are dual condition claimers in race number 1. Dual condition means there's 2 different ways you can qualify. You can be a non-winner of 3 lifetime, or you could be a 3-year-old filly taking on older runners. Now, we have none of those 3-year-old fillies in here with the extra wins except number 5, Vintage. Vintage, as you notice, is a 3-year-old filly with 3 career wins. That's why she can run in here for the non-winners of 3 lifetimes. So she's got to take on older, but she already has the 3 career victories eligible to run for the non-winner of 3 tag because she is a 3-year-old. That's the definition of what the dual conditions are all about. I don't particularly like her in this spot. I don't have a major knock against her, but I don't think she has any discernible advantage against this group off the win at Finger Lakes last time. Jeffrey Englehart brings this one in from the Finger Lakes home base. We'll see how she matches up against $20,000 claimers here on the Keeneland circuit. Did most of her damage, Belterra, Mountaineer. Did run well at Saratoga, though, against non-winners of 2 for 16. I'm not going to play with that one. Vintage the 5. That is Caton's top pick in here. Kim Nelson's got that one in the mix as well. I go with Lady with the Cause, the 2. I'm looking for those Churchill shippers at this kind of class level. And I also like the fact that this Gennaro Garcia trainee has a win over the track at Keeneland. Broke the maiden here for $50,000 back when with Kenny McPeak here in April. Claimed away. Garcia is a trainer who does pretty good stuff with horses Indiana Grand, Horseshoe Indianapolis, took this one to Indy, got a win, and then last time out ran okay, just kind of average. Not a great performance at Churchill. We'll see if this one can improve. Back at Keeneland, horse for course potential angle. I like the post position. Obviously, you want to be towards the inside here if you can in the Iona 16th races. And short stretch here, so you want a horse who's not too far back off of it. This horse likes when he's going to run her good race. Lady with the Cause is usually fairly close to the action, doesn't get too far behind. Sicilian Grandma's the 6-5 morning line favorite on Nick Tamaro's morning line. This was a Saratoga winner 2 starts back. Last time out just got tanked at Kentucky Downs on the turf, but not on the turf today. They're back to the main track on the Wednesday card. Sicilian Grandma expected to improve there. Should be a factor inside throughout. Tyler Gaffleone rides. Not a big opening weekend for Tyler Gaffleone. He wasn't as strong as we've seen some weekends at Keeneland. I expect he will pick up the pace after, I believe, what was a 3-win weekend for Gaffleone to start things off at the meet. Let's go to race number 2 next up. And again, as we take a look at the big picture, this is where the early pick 4 is going to start, race number 2. So races 2 through 5 are part of the early pick 4. A couple horses in here I think you definitely need to consider. This is a race where you could look at a few, but I've got a price play in here that I like. And as you see, our key play of the day, race number 2, we've seen this before. The horse's name is Money Shot, and I'm going to take a shot in here with Money Shot for trainer Mike Puich. Puich had a horse at Keeneland last year, 15-1, looked almost exactly like this in form. 3rd career start in a maiden claim or a maiden special like this. Big price coming off a race at Churchill. Ran a bang-up race at 15-1 and just missed. Ran a really good second at a price. Now he comes in, puts blinkers on Money Shot in race number 2. I think this horse is very live. He gets Flavie and Pratt to ride. Big rider assignment here. Pratt had a really good opening weekend at Keeneland. So Money Shot, my key play early in the day. And again, we saw this last year. Same pattern, same kind of horse, 15-1 for the Puich barn. Just missed and ran a really good race. I'm looking for Money Shot to pull the upset in race number 2. 10-1 in the morning line. So do we expect to get that kind of price? Let's look across the handicapper selectors box and see, is Money Shot getting any love anywhere else? No. So I'm on the island here. You got Tis My Hero, the 4, Mr. Faversham, the 11, the 2, we call them fun coupons, gets 2 top picks. So 5 public handicappers, 4 different horses picked on top. No standouts here on paper, and nobody else likes the 6 Money Shot. I love that. People make statements like a horse being dead on the board is a bad thing. Give me the bigger price every time if I like the horse. I'm not so worried about what the public thinks in terms of whether or not I like the horse or not. I care what the public thinks about how my price is going to play out for sure. So I think we might get a fair price here. Let's take a shot with Money Shot, 6 horse in race number 2. If you're playing the multi-race wagers, you could get brassy and single here and try to really separate yourself from the public. I think the 4, Tis My Hero, and the 2, we call them fun coupons. Certainly obvious contenders in here. We call them fun coupons coming off a 2nd place finish. Jeffrey Englehart had this one come from Finger Lakes again, from his Finger Lakes base. Already came to Kentucky once and ran a good 2nd. An interesting reason why is because this horse was only sold for $3,000 at auction. These are restricted maiden special weight races. I think the max level you could sold for at auction was $50,000. So these horses were able to run for $70,000, and it's restricted. Not everybody is eligible to run in these maiden special weight races. So that's why you can kind of look at horses like this and say, well, why are they here? Well, they're getting a chance to run for $70,000 in restricted company. That's a big reason why. Let's move on to race number 3. We'll check out the big picture once again, because again, these fast and furious rollouts of the multi-race wagers happen in almost every race on the card as we get started, because the pick 6 will be races 3 through 8. We have not had a pick 6 carryover yet at the meet. We had a couple nice big payoffs in the pick 6, but no carryover. Remember, it's a traditional pick 6, not a jackpot. $1 minimum wager. Keeneland's pick 6 begins in race number 3. Now, this looks like a 2-horse race according to the handicapper selectors box, unlike race number 2, where there was a lot of dissension in the ranks. Number 2, Like a Salt Shaker. Number 4, Caramel Chip. They're 1st and 2nd in almost every grid across the way. They're the only 2 getting top selections in here. I thought this might be the best, most competitive race of the entire meet so far. I know we're only in day 4. It's not a huge statement, but all these horses are in raging good form in this starter allowance race. You got several horses coming in off of nice winning streaks. There's no bad form in here. There's some horses that have run well at Keeneland in the past. They're just isn't a real easy throw out. You've got a large field size, so you got a lot to work with. Even if you like horses that are going to end up among the favorites in here, you should get pretty good value in the exactas and the trifectas. This is a good race to dig into the exactas and tries, especially if your top pick isn't necessarily a big win price and you're like, man, I hate to hit a really tough race, a race this competitive, and get $8 back on a 3-to-1 shot. Remember, tries, supers, exactas, this is where you want to dig into your exotics. So in race number 3, maybe look at your horses that you like on top. I'm on like a salt shaker. Key that one on top. Try to get some prices underneath because let the math work for you. People are going to use a lot of combinations. There's going to be a lot of losing tickets. And this is a big field size, right? I mean, and there are no real throwouts in this bunch. So, we've got the full capacity field of 12 going here in the starter allowance sprint race at 7 furlongs. Let's try to go for the tries and supers in this race. Number 2, Like a Salt Shaker, going to be my top pick. The other main one is Caramel Chip. This is a horse who's run really well for Jose D'Angelo since running here at Keeneland last season in the spring in April and winning off by 8 lengths. We know this horse can run for this condition, can run well here at Keeneland. Same distance. There's a lot to like with Caramel Chip. You absolutely have to respect that one. The 2 and the 4, both horses in here that I think have to be respected. My gut tells me the 4 is going to be the favorite over the 2. I think people are going to look back at that race, and you've got Irad Ortiz riding the 4. I think they're going to look back at that race last year at 3-5, winning by 8 lengths over the local track, and the 4 is going to get bet back. I think the 2, Like a Salt Shaker for Illinois connections, Brittany Vandenberg, Chris Amy. I think this is a horse who's going to be let go at a little bit higher price of the 2. So I'm taking a little more of the value play. I'm going to key Like a Salt Shaker on top. Try to work some prices in underneath if you can find some. Shackelford Strong's another horse who's won 4 in a row, 5 of his last 6. There's going to be contention for favoritism in here amongst the top 3. Find one, key that one, spread with some prices underneath, and see what kind of damage you might be able to do in race number 3. On to the 4th race next. It's the first of our 2 back-to-back swing races. Again, these races are swinging as part of the early and late pick 4s and pick 5s. 4th race on the card also starts the $3 Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Turf milers are going in this one here in maiden special weight company. A couple different ways I think you can go in this race. I think there's some decent prospects in here. The post position could be the big difference, though. The 2, Winsome Beauty, and the 12, Carina Nebula, are 2 horses that I really gave a lot of consideration to. And in a turf mile race like this, I'm going to go ahead and take the inside post and hope that helps. And I'm going to go with Winsome Beauty as my top choice in here. But I have a lot of respect for the 12, Carina Nebula. Now, when you look at the public handicappers in this race, we're all over the joint. 5 different top horses on top. The 1, I'm a Mess for Scott. The 2, Winsome Beauty for me. The 4, High Fashion Kate for Caton. 8, Pendulum for Tom. And the 13 off the also eligible list for Kim Nelson. 13 doesn't scratch in. Then she would have the 2, Winsome Beauty on top, following in with me. Mark Cassie's off to a fairly decent start. He's got a couple winners here at the meet, and he gets Joel Rosario to ride. Winsome Beauty, I like the tactical position at Ellis Park in both career starts, not far off the pace. And again, with the mile trip here, there's not a lot of speed just to the inside, so should be able to save ground, get to the hedge, and get a good trip around there. So I've got the 2, Winsome Beauty on top. Colonial Rose, definitely one. It's an interesting player here. First time to the turf for this one. The damn side screams turf out of a Scat Daddy mare. So I think Colonial Rose is going to handle the turf. And if you look, this 5th place finish at Saratoga last time out behind a filly named Just FYI. If you saw Saturday's racing at Aqueduct, Belmont at Aqueduct, it was Just FYI winning the grade 1 for Zet Stakes in a really sharp looking performance. She's now 2 for 2 lifetime for Bill Mott, and she's kind of a horse Jeff Siegel and I were talking about on another podcast earlier today that we think is kind of sneaky for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Just FYI, that she's looking like she's a contender in that spot. This horse, Colonial Rose, the 6 in this 4th race on Wednesday at Keeneland, comes out of a fairly good race because she was only 4.5 lengths behind Just FYI. Now, does that translate to the turf? We're not sure. So that's why I don't have Colonial Rose on top, but I've got her picked second in here with a lot of respect. Again, the dam side of the pedigree with the Scat Daddy is the dam side. He's really good with the turfers. I'm going to assume Colonial Rose can handle the turf. Al Stahl, Julian Leperoux teaming up there. I think in multi-race wagers, you want to use the 2, the 6, and the 12 at least amongst my 3. And you look across, there's a lot of love for other runners in this race. This is a spread race. unfortunately, because we're talking about a swing race, and as we go back to the big picture, I said at the beginning, the days where you can really narrow down races 4 and 5 in these swing races are great races to dive in. I am spread in race number 4. I don't have a strong opinion in the race. I think there are many ways that it could go with some probable players at some decent prices. Winsome Beauty, my top pick, is 6-1 in the morning line. I'd be happy to bet Winsome Beauty at 6-1 in the morning line, but I don't think she's a single in this spot by any stretch. So this is going to be tough for me to get involved in the pick 4s and pick 5s today, because I do not have a strong opinion in race number 4. And also, I think in that 4th race, you've got to look at the also eligible horses. If any of the also eligibles draw in, they are very usable. The 13, the 14, the 16, and even the 15. I mean, so keep an eye on the scratches, see how this race shakes out. But this looks like a spread race to me in race number 4. I do not have a solid opinion on it. And so therefore, unless I can really narrow down race number 5, I'm going to have a hard time playing the pick 4s and pick 5s on this particular card. That just means I'm focusing on my straight bets, my win bets, intra race with the exactas. Like I said, race 3 looks like a great try super race. So take some of the budget that you might have played in the pick 4 and pick 5 if you don't have a strong opinion on it, and put it in a race where it can do the most work for you. Like race number 3, which we think is a great trifecta and superfecta opportunity. That race, you might want to spend more of your budget on tries and supers than you might on another card. Take what they give you, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to do as a gambler. You're trying to maximize your opinion and put yourself in the best position to win, and to win the most amount of money with the least amount of risk is obviously the best way if you can pull it off. To the 5th race we go, and we continue here on the big picture with a pick 4 swing race. Again, races 2 through 5 is the early pick 4. That's going to end here in the 5th, and it's going to start the late pick 4 on races 5 through 8. So pick 5 also runs through this race in both of them. What do we have in race number 5? We've got claimers here, non-winners of 2, going 6 furlongs. I'd love to be narrowed down again, but again, I think this is a race where there are some options. The 6, Go Margie Go, is a top pick by 3 of the public handicappers in here. I've got Go Margie Go in my top 3, but don't have that one on top. Interesting, 6-1 in the morning line on Go Margie Go, but picked by so many public handicappers makes you wonder in this kind of situation, will that horse be lower than the morning line price? When 3 public handicappers have the horse on top, another one, myself, has it 3rd. Probably the price on Go Margie Go is going to be lower than that 6-1 odds. We'll see. But that's why we kind of take a look at that handicapper's consensus box, because we're trying to figure out what the public might do, what the public handicappers are, trying to uncork if they've got a wild one in there that you may not consider. We want to get a feel and a sense of how a race might be bet. It's not necessarily who the picks are, but it can give you just as much sense of how a race might be bet. So if Go Margie Go is 6-1 in the morning line, but gets bet down a little bit, then maybe we're looking at somewhat lukewarm favorites in this race. Intermittent Fast, the 5, is the morning line favorite, but these are not strong connections that you're going to see bet at Keeneland very often. John Ennis, Hurd in the saddle. This one out of the Thoroughbred Center, won at Horseshoe Indianapolis, 2 starts back in maiden special weight company. That's not a bad performance. The Horseshoe Indy horses do okay here in the non-winners 3 or non-winners of 2 lifetime like we have. I prefer the Churchill runners in this race statistically and just in general when we're looking at these kind of races. So Go Margie Go does come out of Churchill, but my top pick is Too Fast for You, also coming out of Churchill Downs races. The problem with Too Fast for You, a winner 2 starts back at Horseshoe Indianapolis, is the only career win came on the turf. So this horse may not be any good on the dirt. He's had 3 starts. He did run decent at Churchill, or she did, I should say, at Churchill in the career debut back in May, going 4.5. But the last 2 on dirt were not good at all. So I don't have a strong opinion, but what I have here is a horse who's never run for a claiming tag. First time for a tag, so that's a big drop. Eddie Keneally does good with these kind of horses at Keeneland. He spots them well. Twirling Candy, a sire who does pretty well with the horses on the main here. And Luis Saez takes the mount on a horse who otherwise doesn't look like much on paper. So class drop, Keneally, maybe a little bit of pedigree to run okay here. you get Saez, but the 10-1. If Too Fast for You is much lower than 10-1, I wouldn't be interested at all. This is the tough race for me. I don't have a strong opinion of it. I don't think the favorite is anything special and intermittent fast at 5-2 in the morning line. Maybe that's why a lot of folks are defaulting to Go Margie Go for Larry Ravelli, a horse who had a good win in the first career start on the main track at Hawthorne, and then draw a line through the last one on the turf, not running well at Churchill. Back to the dirt. Maybe that's why Go Margie Go is the horse to beat in this spot. We shall find out. I'm taking Too Fast for You, hoping that the class drop and Keneally putting one in another good spot here at Keeneland in the claiming ranks gets us a victory at a price. But again, demand a nice number. If not, you just simply pass the race or you move on to another selection that you have. I don't have a second pick in here, though. So if I don't get the price I'm looking for on Too Fast for You, I'll simply pass and I'll have more money for my budget to play on a race that I like more. And I do like the next race on the card a little bit more for sure. That's the 6th race on the program. It's the second leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, and it's also my second key play of the day. I like a horse who's well drawn and has a well-backgrounded background for this kind of race. We've got Allowance Company on the turf here, first level allowance race, and Up and Down is the horse we're talking about here in race number 6, the 3-horse, my top choice and one of my key plays of the day. Up and Down also picked on top by Tom and Kim. Up and Down gets a third choice from Caton. Lilac Girl, Make the Boys Wink, other top plays in here for the public handicappers. Up and Down comes off a good second place finish at Kentucky Downs. I like the Kentucky Downs runners and the way they're running here early in the meet. Obviously, I like them in Allowance Company on the turf here at Keeneland this time of year. This is the right spot to come out of. That's the background we're talking about. And the other background we like is a horse for course angle in April. Broke the maiden here going a mile on maiden special weight company for Graham Motion. And I like the draw. Post number 3 can really save ground in there. Turf miles, I like to be inside if you've got a horse who's got some ability. If you've got a horse who's really talented, you can win from the outside, but you have to be best, at least here with the turf milers. If you've got a good post position towards the inside, you don't necessarily have to be the best horse on paper. You get the best trip, you're competitive on paper, and it's enough to get you over the top. I'm on the 3, Up and Down. I love the background of this one. Again, a past course winner coming off the turf at Kentucky Downs, and a nice draw for trainer Graham Motion. And one thing about Graham Motion, nobody has had more fall meet allowance wins on the turf at Keeneland over the years than Graham Motion. He's got 25. Second most is Mike Baker with 21. Graham had a couple horses run pretty well in Allowance Company opening weekend, but didn't get over the top. We'll see if Up and Down can do it for us. Race number 6. Other ones to watch in here, Star Fortress coming out of some races. Group 3 company in England. First time in the U.S. for that one for Cherie DeVoe. Interesting group in here. Lilac Girl, the 5, is another one who comes off the turf at Kentucky Downs. She moved forward here and has run well at Keeneland in the past. Ran a good second over this course in April. So Lilac Girl and Up and Down are a little bit similar in form in that they come out of Kentucky Downs and they've run well here at Keeneland in the past. Certainly have to respect Lilac Girl as well. Let's go to the 7th race on the program, as the feature race on the card is the only one that really doesn't have a major starting point or attachment to the Turf Pick 3. It's a starter allowance company here in race number 7. And in race number 7, we've got one on the honor system, we'll say. Honor Code, a sire that we are just kind of following closely here at the meet. His horses have run extremely well over the Keeneland main track in recent years. St. Antimo is the one that is by Honor Code, and we're going to the honor system here, looking for a pedigree play for this one, first time over the track at Keeneland. St. Antimo is my top choice in here. No other handicappers have this one on top. So at 9-2 in the morning line for Jeff Hiles and Corey Lannery, this price might hold up all right. Comes off a good second place finish in a similar starter allowance race last time out at Churchill Downs. Doesn't need much improvement. 2 wins and a second by a half length in the last 3. And again, that Honor Code pedigree over the main track here could be pretty effective. I've got some outside runners at 1 1/16 on the main track. Not the greatest place to be, but I think the 10 Master Game and the 11 Dog Red at 10-1 and 15-1 respectively are horses that you want to consider. It's not the best post, but if you get the right price, I think they're playable and usable in this spot because they've had good past form over the track here at Keeneland. Look for the 10 Master Game, who was a winner here in the past, a horse who is a 40,000 maiden claiming winner here back in the 22 fall meet. And then Dog Red had a second place finish here in the spring for 50,000 non-winners at 2. Should be very competitive in this starter allowance. So I like the past races over the track for the 10 and the 11. My top pick in here, though, is going to be number 8, Sant Amo. As for the other public handicappers, this is a spread city race again. I mean, this is another one. 5 different handicappers, 5 different horses on top. Caton's got the 1, Hurry, Hurry. Fighter Town, the 2 for Scott. We've got the 5, Inexorable for Kim. 6, Madison Loves Duke for Tom Leach. And then I've got St. Antamo. So take your pick. This is a spread race. It's that kind of card. If you can find a horse you really like on this program, you might get overlay win pool odds. And, the more you kind of go through these races and look at the competitiveness of them, how difficult it's going to be to string 3, 4, 5 winners in a row. I think we're looking at potential box cars in the pick 4s and pick 5s. That means not many people are going to hit them. That might entice you to say, boy, I really want to play today because it could pay $5,000, $10,000 on the pick 5. But being realistic, hitting those $5,000 and $10,000 pick 5s are a numbers game, right? Not many people hit them. So your chance of actually hitting them, that's why they pay so much, is small. So maybe you want to take more of your budget and really focus on 2 or 3 really solid kind of win plays. Maybe try to beat a race, but not the races. You always hear that expression, right? I can beat a race, but you can't beat the races. Well, when you're trying to play pick 4s and pick 5s, you're trying to beat the races, right? You're trying to get a lot of wins. If you just have one race really doped out well, then beat that race, hit it to win, hit the exacta, hit the try, hit the super if you can, work down the line instead of across the entire program on a very tough program like this. So I would suggest that when you look at more of your vertical wagers, as they say, the ones that go up and down in the race versus the horizontal wagers, which go across several races. That's my personal opinion because of the way I handicapped it. Now, it doesn't tell you bet the card that way because you may handicap this card and come up with strong opinions in these races. Well, if you have strong opinions in these races, then you want to look at those vertical wagers as you go, or the horizontal wagers as you go race to race, because you have a strong opinion in the 3rd, a strong opinion in the 5th, a strong opinion in the 6th. Now it becomes easier to hit a pick 4, pick 5, because you're really dialed in on what you want to do. I'm not in that situation. So for me, I'm going to play a lot more of the vertical wagers, straight win bets, and then up and down with maybe exactas, tries, supers, depending on the field size. 8th and final race is the nightcap. It's the Turf Pick 3 finale. And we're going to see if we can't get out with a winner in the final race in this maiden special weight race, $100,000 for these turf milers. Here's how it lines up. I do my picks independent before we all submit them, and we kind of put them into a computer system that a computer program that then publishes them on the website. So I don't know what the other handicappers have at the time when I put my picks in. When I didn't have Luz Davina anywhere in this race, I'm starting to wonder and question my sanity because everybody else has Luz Davina as the obvious best bet of the day. I mean, top 4 or top pick by all 4 other handicappers. And I don't have the 6 in my top 3. I just found some other options that I liked. I went back and, this is another reason why you look at public handicapper picks, because you want to see if you missed something, right? I mean, you don't have to take my opinion. And if you're here listening to the show, chances are you at least want to hear the opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You can completely disagree with it. That will oftentimes be better for you in terms of looking for a better price or some value somewhere else than kind of doing what everybody else is kind of thinking about. But to compare your picks with other people can give you that little checks and balances that you don't have if you're handicapping as an individual. I don't handicap with a team of people and things like that. So I put my picks in when we submit and I look, I'm like, okay, did I miss something on Luz Davina in here? This is probably the horse that's going to be singled on the card by everybody. But Luz Davina, 7-2 in the morning line in a field of 12, is the morning line favorite. I don't know if it's a default pick or just a standout on paper to everyone else. Tim Ham trains this daughter of Palace Malice. She's got 2 career starts. She closed for 3rd at Saratoga. I thought that she was just no excuse second at Churchill last time, and that's why I thought we could probably find somebody else. Now, I know Buku, who won that race at Churchill Downs, came back here and ran so big in the Jessamine, and I guess that's what everybody's looking at. But Luz Davina had no excuse last time out. Finished second. She was still a clear second. The class of Buku is probably what's going to draw everybody in because she was second to that runner. But the splits, 49-1, 114, 143-4 for the mile and a 16th at Churchill. I just thought that was her race to win if she was going to win. Now, maybe Buku is just exceptional, and there's nobody like that in this particular spot, but we don't know with 2-year-olds. This class is very, very subjective with 2-year-olds. We don't know what their ceiling is and where they can get to. Some maiden races are great. Some maiden races are terrible. You don't know until after the fact. But Los Divina, I guess, I mean, if I'm playing a pick 4, pick 5 at the end of the card, you certainly would want to use that runner as you get 2, 3, 4 deep. But I went with Oraculus as my top pick in here. Comes off a second place finish at Kentucky Downs. A rallying move there, going 6.5. Uncle Mo, Bernardini pedigree there. I think this horse will go long. The turf mile should work out well. First career start on the dirt sprinting, not that great. Showed improvement on the turf sprinting, and now you get that third move. Now you get to go long on the turf for the first time. That's why I'm on the 8 in here. Oraculus, Christian Torres riding for Cherie DeVille. They hit it over 20% when teaming up together. So that's my final pick in the nightcap. We'll go with Oraculus and see how it turns out. I've got him 8, 5, 7. The 8's, in the mix with a couple of the handicappers in here. But again, the 6, Los Divina, coming off that second place finish behind the Jessamine winner, Buku, is the reason everybody's jumping in there. But I'm not just sold 100% there at what might be a shorter price than what the 7-2 morning line suggests based on the other public handicappers. Well, good luck to you on the Wednesday program. If you'd like to get more information sent to you each day in your email inbox, be sure to sign up for my Substack. Jeremy Plonk, all one word, no spaces, .substack.com is where you can sign up for the free email handicapping information sent to you directly to your email inbox. We send it each day of the meet here at Keeneland. And of course, during the rest of the year, too, we'll be sending out some handicapping information as well. Give my updated picks, my stats and trends blogs, things like that. Some pick 4 tickets. I'm going to put together a pick 4 for Saturday. We'll send that out on Substack for the big Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. If you haven't seen the entries, we are set for entries for the entire week already. Keeneland is drawing 1 week in advance, so tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow they're going to draw next Wednesday's card already. All days for this week, all the way through Sunday, are already drawn. The Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup on Saturday. Grade 1 race, just a fantastic field in there. Be sure to check that out. International flavor, some of the top fillies from England and France coming over here early. Not a Breeders' Cup race, but it feels like a Breeders' Cup race for the 3-year-old fillies with all the international intrigue and the QE2 coming up on Saturday. But between now and then, we've got live racing for you on Wednesday at Keeneland, and I'll be back on Wednesday night to take the Keeneland look ahead at the Thursday card. Good luck tomorrow, everybody. First post, 1 o'clock. Be sure to join Scott and Caton on Today at Keeneland at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you tomorrow night.